You feel it before anything else. The quiet agony Michael tries so desperately to hide from the world, that heaviness behind his eyes, the exhaustion woven into every breath he takes. You see a man who looks calm on the surface, but inside, he is carrying fear, guilt, and pressure that could crush anyone else in seconds. And it hits you almost immediately. This is not the story of a mastermind. This is the story of a man drowning silently, long before the world realizes it. From the very beginning, Michael walks into Fox River with a burden most people wouldn't survive for a day. His plan isn't what breaks him. It's the emotional weight behind the plan. The knowledge that he is sacrificing his own mental stability to save his brother. He carries guilt that runs deeper than the tattoos on his skin. Guilt over Lincoln. Guilt over their childhood. Guilt over every moment he wasn't able to protect the only family he has left. And instead of sharing that pain, he traps it inside, convincing himself that suffering in silence is the only way forward. You can feel his anxiety even when he pretends to be composed. You can see the tremors he hides in the way he grips objects tightly, the way he pauses too long, the way he forces his breathing to stay slow. He doesn't just hide fear, he suppresses it completely until it settles in the back of his mind like a ticking bomb. Inside Fox River, Michael becomes two people. The man everyone sees, the calm, brilliant strategist, and the man no one sees, the one who spends every night overthinking, every morning doubting himself, every afternoon calculating 10 different outcomes for the next 10 minutes. That kind of mental strain becomes torture. Every step of his escape plan adds another layer to his emotional exhaustion. Every lie he tells chips away at his identity. Every person he pulls into danger makes him feel responsible for their lives. And even when he succeeds, the victory doesn't bring relief. It brings more weight. Because once he escapes, the trauma doesn't stay behind. It travels with him. Season by season, you watch Michael slowly lose pieces of his spirit. In the beginning, his eyes still carry hope, but the more he goes through, the betrayals, the violence, the deaths, the constant need to outthink danger, the more his eyes lose their light. You can see it clearly. You can feel the shift. His hope becomes thin, stretched, fragile. His shoulders stay tense every second. His mind never rests. When he joins forces with his team, the pressure doubles. He isn't just responsible for saving Lincoln anymore. He becomes the emotional backbone of every person who depends on him. They all look to him for answers, for solutions, for strength. But what no one realizes is that Michael has no one to look to himself. He carries everyone. No one carries him. His psychological burden becomes unbearable. The panic attacks come quietly, hidden behind closed eyes. The migraines hit him like punishment from his own thoughts. The split-second moments where he looks like he's losing touch with reality become more frequent. But he doesn't allow himself to break. Not on the outside. He swallows everything, pushing his mind past its limits just to keep going. And then there is Sarah. She is one of the few things that bring him peace, but even that peace becomes painful, because loving her means risking her life. And Michael's mind twists that love into another weight, another fear, another thing he could lose at any moment. He carries her safety like a wound on his soul. Every time she's in danger, you can see something inside him fracture. But nothing destroys him the way Sona does. Sona is not a prison. Sona is psychological warfare. And Michael enters that nightmare already mentally exhausted from everything before. Inside Sona, his emotional state shatters in ways he can no longer control. The environment is unpredictable, violent, lawless. He loses control for the first time. His plans no longer guarantee safety. His intelligence no longer ensures survival. And you see it clearly. Michael begins to break. The fear becomes visible on his face. The shaking in his hands becomes harder to hide. The sleepless nights turn into hallucination-like moments where you can't tell if he's thinking or spiraling. He starts dissociating. He withdraws. He isolates. His mind becomes both his only weapon and his worst enemy. This is where he begins losing himself. His trauma piles up faster than he can process it. Death surrounds him. Betrayals hit harder. Every choice feels like a moral compromise. And instead of healing, he suppresses everything deeper, building layers of emotional numbness to survive one more day. But the numbness becomes dangerous, because when Michael stops feeling, he stops taking care of himself. He throws himself into danger without hesitation. He acts like his life doesn't matter. He becomes a man with purpose, but without a sense of self. And that is one of the sad realities of his psychological journey. He forgets he is human. Then comes the truth about his mother, something that strikes him in the deepest, most fragile part of his mind. He realizes his entire life was manipulated. His childhood was shaped by lies. His trauma was rooted in secrets he was never meant to understand. And suddenly, every emotional wound he's ever buried reopens at once. The betrayal cuts through every defense he has left. His mind spirals into confusion, anger, heartbreak, and grief, all at the same time. You can see the exhaustion in his soul. He questions everything. He stops trusting his instincts. He begins doubting his own purpose. His emotional breakdown is quieter than his physical ones, but it's much more devastating. He doesn't scream. He doesn't collapse. But you can see it in his eyes. He is fighting to stay sane. His decisions become heavier. Each step feels like carrying 1,000 regrets on his back. And as the seasons progress, his psychological suffering becomes the core of his character. His trauma becomes a shadow that follows him everywhere. He becomes slower to smile, quicker to tense, more protective, more paranoid, more fatigued. His mind is breaking, but his heart refuses to stop. By the time he reaches the final chapters of his story, he is a man who has walked through endless pain with almost nothing left inside him. He is grieving the loss of innocence, the loss of peace, the loss of every moment of stability he once had. His brilliance still shines, but it's dimmed by years of emotional scars, and his love for others becomes the only thing keeping him from collapsing completely. Michael Scofield is not just a genius. He is a man who survived impossible psychological pressure by sacrificing everything that made him whole. His mental journey is not heroic. It is tragic, raw, heavy, heartbreaking, and unforgettable. And if you want more powerful stories like this, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel.